Hey guys, Pastor Kevin, Bible in a Year, episode 120. Going to start getting into Saul and David today. And again, we've talked about this a lot, just being focused on the southern kingdoms. But 4 chapters to look at. Here we go.
Like to hear it? Here it goes.
Like to hear it? Here it goes. Heart's a reference back to college days. Hey, we're having this debate right now.
Are we recording?
Well, we're recording.
Okay.
We were having this debate the other day. How old are you? Are you 51?
Going to be 51 in July.
51 in July.
Huh? You surprised by that? Yes. Sheila, my new favorite person. Get her a mic.
I said, James is in his 50s, and they were like, no, he's not. I said, yes, he is. And I'm like, you guys, I can't remember who I was talking to.
This is great. It's my height. My height throws people off.
Well, the sad thing is, people think I'm in my 60s. And I'm
That's your height. That's because your height.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with my height. It's just I'm old and haggard.
Hold on, I got to ask this now because, I feel wonderful. So, tell me, how old did you think I was? She'd be like 49. Oh, okay.
Sheila, do you know how old I am? 4. Thank you.
54.
Almost 55. I'll be 55 in
September.
As they say in
That's how you know I was in
Morgantown High School
baseball
Spanish class,
Almost.
Septiembre.
That's right.
Yes.
I always know it's almost near October for Mr. October.
This has
Yankees.
nothing to do with 1 Chronicles 8 through 11.
43. Go ahead.
Are we stretching? We don't have to stretch anymore because we have arrived. So, chapter 8, 1 through 39, you're going to read the genealogy of Saul. In 34, you see the name Jonathan pop up, okay? Something interesting, though, in verse 8 of chapter 8. Sons were born to Shaharaim in Moab after he divorced his wives. Interesting. I don't even know what that means.
Oh, wait, what?
Yeah, after he had divorced his wives. Isn't that interesting? And it's just little pockets like that.
It says sent away here.
What's that?
Sent away is what I have.
That's your translation?
Yes.
Yeah. It's interesting. What does that mean? Sons were born to him afterwards. So these concubines, I mean, what's I mean, it's like a, Judah and Tamar incident. I mean, what is this? That's why I'm saying I don't want people to go too quickly through this, because even though we ripped the whole prayer of Jabez thing,
we did.
It's almost like you're reading down through this family tree, and then all of a sudden there's a stoppage and says, let me tell you about Jabez.
Yep.
He was more honorable than all the others. I think that's significant. And so when you're reading through these genealogies, I think you need to take the time to go through them, because there's a lot of little nuggets here, there, and everywhere throughout. Okay, so that's chapter 8. Then you get to chapter 9. Take a look at 9, verse 1. All Israel was listed in the genealogies recorded in the book of the kings of Israel and Judah, northern tribes, southern tribes. 10:2. They were taken captive to Babylon because of their unfaithfulness. And when we read that, it's the southern tribes that were taken to Babylon.
Yeah.
Okay? So, statement about the Babylonian Babylonian exile, okay? Then, when you get to 2 through 34, take a look at what it says. There's a kind of a 70-year jump between verses 1 and verse 2, chapter 9. Now, the first to resettle on their own property in their own towns were some Israelites, priests, Levites, and temple servants. So these are the first people that come back. So when you get to a book like Nehemiah, and there's a report back to Nehemiah, my brothers came back. I'm not sure that was like blood brothers. Yeah. It was probably brothers in the family of God. This is who it's talking about. There was an original group, just like David and I talked about this in the 1st and 2nd Kings episodes. Just as the Babylonian exile was progressive, okay, Assyrian exile was less progressive. I mean, there's always a progression to how people are carried away to exile when it comes to Scripture. But Babylonian was like 10, 12 years, the process. They come back progressively too. There's a progressive coming back. So when the brothers probably not blood, come back to Nehemiah, and he goes, how's it going? They go, it's terrible.
Yeah, not going great.
It's not good. The wall's not built. The altar's torn down, blah, 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 blah. And that's the context for it. So you get that right there, all right? So that's 2 through 34. Note something here, too, because another thing that we talked about, when they leave, and the episodes haven't come out yet, so you haven't even had a chance to be made aware of what we talked about. Think about when they left Egypt. 600,000 men of fighting age.
Yep.
2 to 3 million estimates are that walked out of Egypt.
Children, yep.
They walk away like 10, 12,000. That's all that's left.
Yeah,
Then you get down to verse 13 of 9. The priests who were heads of families numbered 1,760. They were able men responsible for ministering in the house of God.
Okay.
So, again, I think these numbers are important.
It's true.
I mean, come on. You're not getting deep spiritual truths.
No,
but it
you're getting
does.
a picture of life.
Yes.
You're getting a picture of reality of how, and so that's where we're able to say, well, this is how this translates to us today. That God is still the same as He did this. He doesn't sugarcoat anything, and He doesn't make things look surreal. You know what I mean? He's like, no, this is just life. This is what happens when these things happen. War's ugly. Like being taken captive is ugly, and these are the results.
Yes.
And like this is just real life, real consequences, just real faith, real lack of faith, you name it. And so I love that, and the numbers tell a story too. Numbers tell a story.
It was so
it's
interesting.
important.
I'm sitting here and I'm thinking back to that episode, and I said, all right, somebody Google a city, 2 to 3 million, and Garrett yells out from the cheap seats, just double the state of West Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
That's what walked out of Egypt. And I said,
yeah,
you know how many citizens were in the city, or that are in the city of Westover? 4,700. Double the city of Westover is what was carried off into Babylonian activity, just right around 10,000. Well, 70 years later, walking back is, 1,760 people in the priesthood. So it's just, it's another one of those, same things. Now, you have a loop around again, genealogy of Saul in chapter 9, 35 to 44. I'm not sure of the reason behind that, but you've already had one genealogy of Saul laid out in 1 Chronicles 8, 1 through 39. Now we have another genealogy of Saul that comes up, okay? Let me say one more thing. I referenced Phinehas earlier. 1 Chronicles 9, verse 20. In earlier times, Phinehas, son of Eleazar, was the official in charge of the gatekeepers, and the Lord was with him. Phinehas comes up over and over and over again. When that Reuben, Gad, half-tribe of Manasseh stay in the Transjordan area, and they build that basically replica altar there, it's Phinehas who is sent as the main person. When the Maccabean Revolution occurred, we're in the name of Phinehas. The Apostle Paul, before he was the Apostle Paul, that was that same kind of zealot type of spirit that we are going to rise up like Phinehas did against the Midianites to stop the plague. So those are key things. If anybody's ever read anything by N.T. Wright, he's a huge Phinehas guy.
Yeah.
He's just a huge Phinehas
He's a great
guy.
scholar.
Oh my gosh, I love him so much. Okay, chapter 10. Now we start getting into the story again, and this is the story of Saul's death.
Yep.
And he does. He attempts and complete suicide, and I use those words just because trained in the certification, the PAIR certification, suicide prevention certification. It's just a better way of saying it. Attempted, completed. I mean, I guess if you fall on a sword, it's a pretty good attempt. Yeah. But he completed. But anyways, that's what chapter 10 is talking about. And then you see again in chapter 11, David becomes the king over Israel. And then there's another chronicling of David's mighty warriors. And you look at verse 41, and who shows up there?
You got to get there. 41. I'm thinking Uriah.
There he is.
There he is.
And that's what I'm saying, guys. You know, you look at chapter 15, you know, Jim Halbert talked about the cave, a cave of Adullam.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you know, and you just keep moving down through all of these things, and you're seeing all of this stuff over and over again that you've read. It's just this refresher course, refresher course, over and over and over and over again. And we can talk about it more specifically.
I think the other thing you see here is you see David in a much better light throughout all of First Chronicles. Like David is, again, because it's messianic, right? They're showing like this is for who the Messiah king is going to be. And so you see David in kind of that more messianic light than you do the other ones. That shows a lot of all his scars and warts and all the other stuff, which is honest, right? But again, the purpose of this is hope. The purpose of first is a retelling with hope.
Yep.
God's going to keep his covenant with Israel regardless. It's okay, you know what I mean? It's going to be okay.
100%.
Yeah, but anyway.
I mean, and I think you stated very well. First and Second Chronicles is very messianic in nature. The point that I made a couple of episodes ago, Genesis 1 creation narrative, Genesis 2 creation narrative.
Yeah.
If First and Second Kings can be seen kind of like the Genesis 1 creation narrative, very broad, very fast, little bit of intricacy. The Genesis 2 creation narrative, way more intricacy than Genesis 1.
Yep.
First and Second Chronicles, there is a greater intricacy to how Saul and David and their lives, even when you get down to the end with, Jehoiachin and Zedekiah and, these other, kings of Judah, there's just a greater intricacy that comes out, especially when it comes to the description of the temple itself.
Oh, yeah, especially.
Because if you're reading First and Second Kings, you're like, geez, David didn't really have anything to do with the temple preparations.
And then you find out.
Yes,
he did.
Not only did he have something to do with it,
he
what he donated, oh my goodness, it's off the charts. And we're jumping ahead a little bit, but people get the point. Okay. All right, guys, you guys got it. First Chronicles 8 through 11. We're going to get into it a little bit deeper as we continue to progress through, but we've done the kind of house cleaning stuff, but we'll keep going and get a little deeper. So God bless you guys. We'll see you tomorrow.